Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you're out there enjoying your wonderful coffee. This morning in my overflowing Andy's Tears mug, and I'll tell you why it's overflowing, because he is crying today about something ridiculous. But here in my mug, I have, for me, I have my favorite, my 1776 blend. Gets me up, gets me going in the day. You can buy our coffee online. Brewed shop.brewedco.com. That is shop.brewedco.com. I can drop a link here in a bit after I'm done, and there you guys can purchase there. But anyways, coffee, it's fantastic. It's great. Stop by our shop, buy some online. So what I wanted to talk about today, I had 3 topics. COVID in the schools, talking about we've got some classroom closure here in Fayette County because somebody tested positive for COVID. We're going to talk about that. HB 208 and the Boone County Court hearing. We're going to talk about the gas tax today, and I'm going to talk about Andy getting upset about Ohio because, you know, Andy's crying again. So let's kind of roll through this here for you guys. So what we have first with the schools. So here in Fayette County, they just started like 3 days ago, Monday, sending kids back to school, okay? Sending kindergartners through 2nd grade. It's the first time they've been back to school in like a year, all right? And already there are 6 schools that have people on, quarantine or whatever. So what happened there? So apparently 4 kids and 2 staff members tested positive for COVID. Here's the first thing you have to understand about that timeline based on what I'm told, and this goes into what now the health department is asking those people to do because of it. So I am told that you do not test positive for COVID like right away. Like you have to have COVID for several days before it can test positive on a test, I guess. So that means all 6 of these individuals, these 4 kids and 2 teachers, they had COVID before they went to school. They did not catch COVID from school. They had it walking in there, and it's the end of the world. And so now 6 classrooms and 6 different schools have had to be on quarantine for 10 days. And so as I understand it, one person tests positive, they send all the kids home, and then you quarantine for 10 days. And because, just a negative COVID test doesn't work because it has to sit, I guess, and gestate for a certain amount of time. I don't know. But basically, we have kids and 2 teachers, and for some reason, 6 schools, which I wonder why it's 6 schools. Like, is there 4 classrooms that had 1 kid test positive in each, and then there's 2 teachers in each that tested positive, so we have 1 case in each. Long story short, if this is going to be the going on, it needs to be put a stop to it. I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but I'm going to sound like a jerk here, okay? Here is the cold, hard facts, all right? 76% of our teachers here in Kentucky are between the ages of 49 and 20. That's not all the teachers. I understand that. I understand there's a lot of great teachers. They're older than that out there. But that is the average age of 76%. The average age of teachers in Kentucky is 41, with 76% being between the age of 20 and 49. Okay? So, between the ages of 20 and 49, if we look at our 4,400 COVID deaths we've had in this state, all right, they make up 2.4% of the total amounts of death, all right? 2.4%. Kids age 20 to 0, there's only been 2 deaths, one in an infant, may have been SIDS, another in an individual that was recovering from cancer at the time. But they make up 0.44% of the total deaths in the state. So that means in school age, we have a total of 0.27% of deaths coming from those schools, okay? And so those teachers there, right, don't get me wrong, COVID affects a lot of people and everything else. And if a teacher gets COVID, they need to be quarantined. It is not clear based upon the timeline that these teachers got COVID from the kids. It doesn't appear that way to me. But anyways, the teachers, if they get COVID, stay home, everything else. You didn't get it from the kids yet, so let's not jump to any crazy conclusions. And also, too, I just want to remind everybody, it is not the end of the world if somebody under 20, if your kid, if you're under 30, really, if you're under 40 by a lot of numbers, if you catch COVID, it is not the end of the world. In fact, under 30, the flu significantly kills more people every year than COVID does there, okay? So it is an irrational fear. If your child is at risk and you know they're super at risk, like they just recovered cancer, don't send them to school. And I don't think normally those kids would be going to school, okay? But we cannot be sending our kids back, and then the minute somebody tests positive for COVID, one in the school, we send everybody home, and they got to quarantine now for 10 days. That doesn't make sense to me at all, because what's going to happen is probably nobody else got it. They're going to come back. Somebody's going to get it from a family member. That's where the spread is really happening. And then you're going to have another 10 days and another 10 days and another 10 days, and these kids are never going to get to learn, which brings me to HB 208. That's why this bill is so important. HB 208 was passed in the House, and we do have a court case that pended. I'm saying ums a lot. Sorry, guys. We do have a court case out of Boone County that had a ruling on it yesterday, had an injunction issued that said that the schools had to go back completely, 100%, by March 25th. The judge even basically had said there's a constitutional argument that these kids have to be offered an in-person quality instruction based upon the state's constitution, and they have to be back by the 25th. That was the court argument. Now, the court issued that. HB 208, it passes. It goes through. And if the House passes it, that will kill that court hearing. And now, if a school district wants to, they can remain NTI only for the whole rest of the year. And it is for red zone. Now, what is funny is they use 25 cases per 100,000 for their counts, right? Here's what I find funny about that is the red zone as defined by the governor. And the governor, remember guys, made up his own red zone. The federal red zone is a lot different and not nearly as strict as the governor's red zone. So the governor made up a red zone, and then a Republican lawmaker got with KDE, Kentucky Department of Education, and wrote HB 208 that uses... And then after proposed it and after it was found out that bill would stop the kids from going back to school, they go, well, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that, pretending they didn't know because they can't admit they don't write their own bills. And then they went ahead and went back to that same KDE, I'm sure, had them write up an amendment that works, propose an amendment that allows schools to be off 1 day a week to NTI only, every single week, right now, no matter what, and then also allows, if you're in the red zone, to be NTI only. Lexington has been in the red zone forever, for a very long time, okay? If right now you think the kids in Lexington should go back, this bill with Amendment 5 disagrees with you and says the kids cannot go back. Now, the defense of this is to say, well, no, the district boards get to decide whether to go back or not. They've always gotten to decide. It's always been up to them. They have lost their right to decide because they have proven they're in the pockets of the unions. So on HB 208, it's got to be killed if you want kids going back. Child suicide is up 100%. 72-hour holds are unavailable for kids. It's a 3-4 week waiting list. If you want to get your child in front of a therapist, kids need to go back to school. I hear you guys saying, well, it's an indoctrination centers and everything else. I hear you on that, but also I care more about my kid killing himself. So kids need to go back to school. And that's the end of it. They just need to go back, and then we can go to work on providing things like school choice and things like that. Let's just get the kids back in the school first, so that way we don't keep seeing these depression issues we're seeing out of children. So HB 208 needs to be killed. Earlier I dropped the list. We need to email the Senate Education Committee to kill the bill. So how bills work, a lot of people don't understand how bills work, and that's okay. I didn't understand it either until I really started getting involved and reading up and learning about it. So what happens is let's say I create a bill, okay, and it's called a bill request, a BR, right? So I create a bill request for a certain bill, and then I submit that bill and I'm kind of dumbing it down a little bit, but I submit that bill to House Leadership Committee on Committees. And then the Committee on Committees decides where that bill is going to go. So I write an education bill, and that Committee on Committees, the House leadership or Senate leadership, because it can come out of both, decides where that bill is going to go. They can decide to just never place that bill. But they place the bill in the correct committee, so it can get assigned to a committee. So if it's an education bill, it gets assigned to the Education Committee. And then what occurs is they go through the bill. They'll have some readings on it. They'll maybe call in the bill's writer to testify about it. Maybe some other people to come in and talk about what's important in the bill, what's affecting their industry, what's not. And then the committee decides whether or not they want to move the bill from committee onto the House floor. Then once the bill hits the House floor, it gets voted on. Or the Senate floor. It can go in two directions, okay? So if the bill gets voted on in the House and passed, like HB 208 does, it now gets sent to the committee of the Senate. So it's in the Senate Education Committee. That committee can decide to not move the bill forward to the Senate floor. So the Education Committee can kill HB 208, which will provide an avenue for schools to not be required to maintain in-person instruction. I personally believe that the parents should get to decide on this issue. However, and we would love to have offered that. However, that's what we were calling about on HB 208 when it was in the House, when we said only vote for amendments 2 and 4, or 1 and 3, and then when and 4, right? It needs to pass it, needs these amendments. We were calling about it. They passed without those amendments. Instead, the original bill writer, Regina Huff, proposes Amendment 5, lies to everybody about what it does, because the feedback we're getting from the House reps when they're getting calls saying, why did you pass this bill, was, oh, I didn't read the bill. I don't know. And I know you guys are going to throw a fit. What do you mean they don't read the bills? Guys, I'm telling you, they do not read the bills, all right? They don't read the bills they vote on. They read the summary. That's about it. And then leadership will tell them how to vote. And unless they know a lot about a subject, they just vote. However, leadership has told them to vote and whatever the summary says. Well, the summary never mentioned anything about the NTI ramifications that this bill had. And that creates the issues that we're seeing here where people are shocked by it. And so they didn't listen to us calling, though. They didn't listen to us. So it got moved forward to the Senate. You didn't listen. Now we need to kill the bill. Kill the bill. And it was a funding bill, and I was willing to allow the schools to have their not additional funding. It's kind of complicated, but I was willing to allow the schools to have their funding bill as long as my kid got to go back to school and wasn't going to be removed every single time somebody somewhere in the school tests positive for COVID because, ooh. And I was willing to do that. However, the House didn't listen to us. It got sent through to the Senate. Now we need to call and just kill the bill. Just kill it. Send the kids back to school. If you don't want your kid in school, homeschool your kid. That's basically what you're doing now anyways. It's an option that's always available to you. Just do that instead if you don't want your kid in school, and let the rest of the kids go back anyways. So we need to kill HB 208. It's in the Senate Education Committee. So you can call up that LRC message line, say, hey, I want to leave a message for the Education Committee, and kill HB 208, save the kids, kill the bill. And that is also on our Facebook post we made earlier today. Has the list of the emails for that committee member. Gosh, that coffee's good. For that committee member, I didn't make it this morning. Casey did over a brood. Anyways, for that committee member, that committee, you can leave them a message, leaves it to all of them. If they try to tell you can only leave a message for your rep, that is incorrect. You can leave it for whoever you want to. Additionally, so you guys know, a little life hack for you on making phone calls, you can also leave a message for your spouse. So if I call up there, I can say, I want to leave a message for the Senate Education Committee that says, save the kids, kill HB 208. I'm leaving that from Andrew Cooperrider, as well as my wife, she is my life, as well as my wife as well. And I can leave that there. So that is the school's HB 208. I know some of you guys want to agree with my rant I did about testing positive for COVID in school when it's clearly not spreading in the school, but I'm tired of seeing these kids out of school every single time somebody stubs their darn toe. All right, let's talk about the gas tax bills, 561 and 508. Now, if I had to guess what is going on with the gas tax bill, HB 508, what it was is, so right now, first, to understand what these laws do, you have to understand where the law is at. So right now, 9% of your wholesale price. A 9% tax on wholesale price is added onto gas, and that money goes to the road fund. And, you know, we can maybe go into what the road fund's all spent on. It's supposed to only be spent on the roads. Kind of is. You know, we had a joke we made last night about how they spend money on runways, which, you know, I don't know many of you that own a plane privately to be able to use public use runways. I feel like most of the usage of runways is done in commercial ways from commercial airlines and FedEx and UPS and places like that. And so personally, my humblest of opinions about using state funds to refund runways is no. Because I'm not going to keep subsidizing airlines and shippers with my tax dollars. They make profits off of their flights. They make profits off those planes. They pay a tax and a usage to use that airport, those tarmacs. They need that money needs to go towards what's repaving. Those aviation areas, those tarmacs. That's where that money needs to go. No, I'm not going to keep using my tax dollars to subsidize private companies. I believe in companies succeeding or failing on their own without the interference of the government in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so putting that to the side. So current law is 9% of wholesale price gets taxed onto your gas, and you pay that as a state tax. There's also a federal tax. So there is a base amount, though. You will not pay less than 24.6 cents per gallon on your wholesale gas tax. That's what it is currently. Okay. What I think they're doing is they're proposing this ridiculous HB 56, and this is all speculation, because you know what? They could really mean this bad one right here. They really could. But maybe there's we caught HB 508, which kind of quietly got filed. No media's talking about it, but we caught on it, and we started pushing it and emailing about it and calling about it. And the original bill sponsor, Jim Duplessis, started actually emailing me a little bit about it, and we had a little conversation about it. We still disagree on the bill. And I do not think that bill should pass because it allows a tax increase of 10% every year, year over year, without a single vote coming out of the House. That means in 5 years, it can increase your taxes by 40%. I don't like that. I want any tax raises to be voted on because I want to hold the people accountable for it. Additionally, as well, my personal opinion is we need to stop giving money to the government. They need to make do with what we're giving them. So I'm against HB 508 because it's a tax increase. However, we started catching them on that. They really believe that the road fund needs more money. They really believe they cannot get that money elsewhere. And I'm telling them, to the government, it may seem like separate funds. This is a road fund, this is a general fund, this is a Sikh fund, all these different funds, right? To the government, they're all these different funds. But to us, the taxpayer, they're all our same pocket they come out of. So it doesn't matter to me if this is coming out of my road fund, which is coming from my gas tax, or if this is coming from my property tax, or if this is coming from my income tax, or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Or my sales tax. It doesn't matter to me. It's all coming out of my darn pocket. Stop raising my taxes net. Reduce my taxes down. So you want to raise the gas tax? Great. Give me a cut. Cut our sales tax by 0.5%. You want to raise my gas tax because you need more money in the road fund? Swell. Cut our income tax by 1%. You want to do that? Cut my tax elsewhere. If you need to shift money in the funds, cut my tax elsewhere then, and then you can raise it here. But do not give me a net tax raise. And that was my fight back against HB 508. I don't like it for that reason. And so we started calling about it. So in order to, and like I said, this is speculation. So instead they dropped this terrible bill, HB 561, that is much, much worse. And I think they're doing it to get us all riled up and calling about 561, so that way they can quietly pass HB 508, which is the real bill they want to get passed. Because I tell you this much, this bill is garbage. Garbage bill. And I'm gonna go over the highlights with you guys of this bill. So the first thing it would do is it would set an initial base tax rate starting in July of this year of 34.6 cents per gallon. That is a 10 cent per gallon increase. That is a 40% increase in your gas tax right off the bat. right off the bat. You're getting a 40% increase on your gas tax right off the bat. HB 561 for you. HB 508 will do the same thing, a 40% increase, but over 5 years. This does it right off the bat. And then on top of it, now it has an automatic raise feature, just like HB 508 does. And what that does is because they found that using the wholesale price of gas is too volatile. Basically, it doesn't make them enough money. So instead, they want to use a flat amount, and they're going to raise it by 10% or lower it by 10% as long as it doesn't go below $34 and I'm sorry, 34.6 cents per gallon. Sorry. And they will raise it by 10%, lower it by 10% based on the national cost index. So this bill doesn't just do a 40% raise off the increase. If highway costs raise federally by more than 10% or 10% each year of the next 5 years, your tax that you're currently paying, which you'd pay, I can't tell the future, so on the current calculation method, I don't know how much exactly you'd pay, but your base is 24.6%. But under this, you could go from 24.6%, and in the next 10 years, you could go 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. You could go up to 55.72%. That is it is a 100% increase on your gas tax in 5 years. They're doubling your gas tax in 5 years. They can do that without a single vote. After this initial vote to raise your gas tax 40%, they can do that without ever having to take a vote to do it. Because, it's just your money to them. Why do they care? Why do they care how much you're paying for gas? So you think to yourself, gas prices are going up, right? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get me a nice high mileage vehicle, okay? Well, hold on here. They've got something for you too, because you know what? Let's just screw over everybody. So here we go. Let's see here. That's right. There's now a special tax in this bill, in this garbage heap of a bill right here, that says if your vehicle's too fuel efficient, you get an additional tax on your registration every year. So if your vehicle gets 30 to 39 miles per gallon, you get a $35 a year tax onto your registration. If your vehicle gets 40 miles per gallon or more, you get a $40 per a year tax on your registration. So you ask how do they figure this out? Well, they're doing off the average EPA listing. This is why this is so freaking dumb. It's so stupid for this reason. Who in here gets their EPA average MPG on their vehicle? So I could have a vehicle that gets 30 miles to the gallon according to the EPA. But if I only drive it in the city and I drive with the lead foot, I might actually only end up getting 25 miles per gallon. However, I still have to pay this $35 tax because the EPA says my vehicle gets 30 miles per gallon. If I get 40 miles per gallon, I'm paying 40. And I'm driving, I tell you this much, I had a Honda Civic Si when I was a little bit younger. 6-speed, right, manual car. And it was a fun little zippy car. And I was in Lexington all the time with it. And I can tell you this much, I did not drive it all that slow. And according to the EPA, I was supposed to be able to get 32 miles per gallon. Now the thing, I don't think I ever got above 24 miles per gallon. But hey, you know what? I'd be paying this $35 extra little tax per year because my vehicle to them is too fuel efficient, and I need to pay more in taxes. So you say, you know what? I got them now. I will just go ahead and get an electric vehicle. I'll just get me a Tesla. Or something like that. I'm going to get me a Tesla. I'm going to get something I plug in, right? Well, hell, little do you know, they've got a tax for you too, because, everybody needs to pay up their pound of flesh in this cruel world that the government runs, where they just keep stealing and taking from you. So here you go. Electric vehicle fee is $150 a year. That's right. You own a Tesla. You're now paying $150 a year in a tax because you're not paying on your gas. That is way more than a vehicle would be. I mean, what's it right here? Let's do some quick math. Quick math, real quick. Okay. If I do 20 miles per gallon in an average year, let's say I drive 18,000 miles, I do 20 miles per gallon. So that's 900 gallons times, let's see, $0.346. So let's see here. Let's average that out. 20 miles per gallon. I'd be paying $311.40 a year under this tax. So that's what I would be owing under this tax if I drove 20 miles a year. Now you say, well, what if I drove 30 miles per gallon a year? Well, you sit there and you do 30 miles per gallon a year, same amount of miles, 18,000 miles a year. You're driving at 30 miles per gallon. That's 600 gallons a year times your tax at 0.346. Let's see, that's $207. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to throw on here your $35 fee. And now you're paying $242.60. There you go. So that gives you guys an idea of what you're going to be paying. Let's say you own a truck, right? I own a truck. Let's say we own a truck, okay? And I average 15 miles per gallon because I drive around inside the city most of the time. And I'm driving 18,000 miles per year. If that is 1,200 gallons at 0.346 cents a gallon, you are paying $415 a year on gas and taxes under this plan. What do you pay currently under the same plan? Under the thing. So that same truck that's paying $415 a year right now is only paying 1,200 gallons a year times 0.246 is 200, and I might have got this wrong, so you guys can correct me, $224 a year. So you go from paying $224 a year to $415 a year. That is fantastic. That's great. Let's throw a parade for that. There's Republicans for you. That's a Republican-sponsored bill. And let's see here. The sponsors on that one for you guys, if you're so curious, Santero, Bentley, Bridges, Go Forth. Thank goodness it's not a tax on Ethernet cords. Health, Massey, Sheldon, and Smith. So there you go. That's what we're dealing with there. A crappy bill that was wrote to distract you from probably HB 508, the real bill that's going to end up passing, which only raises your taxes 40% over the next 5 years. You guys keep voting for these people. Let's primary them out and get rid of them. Now, my cup of Andy's tears here is filled with delicious coffee, but it was full. I had to empty it out of all his tears. He was crying over Ohioans getting vaccinated here in Kentucky. You know what? I just did precursor read on the thing. I didn't dig that much into it, so I'm about to make wild speculations here. So you guys can correct in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm going to make some wild speculations. I speculate because, you know, I'm not an idiot and I understand that a lot of Northern Kentuckians work in Ohio. That, in fact, I think I know 2 people that live in Northern Kentucky that got vaccinated over in Ohio. That a lot of Northern Kentuckians are getting vaccinated in Ohio. It just happens. It's what's going to happen across state lines. But there's also Ohioans, supposedly according to Andy Beshear, getting vaccinated in Kentucky. And Andy is crying about it. He's upset. He says the federal government needs to return from out of Ohio's fund of vaccines, needs to give Kentucky the amount of vaccines we've used to vaccinate Ohioans. It is unfair. Now, as I just stated earlier, if I was a gambling man, because a lot of people live in Northern Kentucky, work across the river in Ohio. If I was it's a suburb of Cincinnati. If I was a gambling man, I would think that more Kentuckians have been vaccinated by Ohio and Indiana than they have been vaccinated by Kentucky. If I had to guess, I think that's the case. Additionally, like, who really cares? Like, it may sound terrible, but if I was the governor, and Ohioans are crossing the border and getting vaccinated in Northern Kentucky, or Indianians, Indianites, whatever, were crossing the river and coming into Louisville and getting vaccinated, I wouldn't be throwing a fit about it. I don't really care. You know why? If they're that close to the river because of, you know, my old noggin up here thinking away about, you know, isn't this about stopping the spread and everything else? If they qualify for a vaccine under our distribution, and they cross the river to get it, chances are they cross the river often. Chances are, if we go back and forth across that bridge in Cincinnati all the time, I don't, but Northern Kentuckians do, all the time, back and forth. Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, back and forth. stopping the spread on either side of the river, if you think the vaccine does that, and if that's your goal with it, I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying what I buy into or what I don't. What I'm saying is if that is your goal, then who cares which side of the river you're vaccinating people on, because they're all the same community. It is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to be throwing a fit about, but he's throwing a fit about it because that's the kind of guy he is. He's just not a good person. He is not a good person. He throws a fit about stupid things like this, and he's throwing a fit and complaining to federal government because, oh my goodness, some Ohioans might have came across the river and gotten our vaccines. Who cares? Who cares? Because like I said, I guarantee you Kentuckians have gotten vaccinated by other states. And also, if you're that close to where you can cross the river to get vaccinated or vice versa, you're in the same community. Yes, you may be separated by a state line, but you are in the same community. You are, quote unquote, stopping the spread if you believe the vaccine does that. Regardless. That's my point on the day. Now, we'll be watching what they do today, so remember your call to action. We want to kill HB 208, so we are telling the Senate committee that. You might want to call and throw a fit about HB 561 and HB 508. Do both. I'm telling you, I think what they're doing is, they are distracting us, and this is just wild conspiracy. They are distracting us with HB 561 so they can pass HB 508. That's what I think they're doing. That's my opinion. Anyways, guys, you have a great day. Enjoy your day. Get some coffee, and we will see you probably Monday.